Hello, everyone. CornerBlue, episode number 34. We know we could have beaten the U.S. We had everything, but right before the game started, I got this tweet from Joe Biden. Si nos ganan, le quito el PTS, cerotes. So I had to text Hugo Perez and be like, "Hey,
you hit him up on the
I'm a citizen already,
on the walkie-talkie.
Yeah. Hey, man, go easy on them. No, dale, vos hacer la intro.
Woo. Hello, everybody. What's up, Salvi family out there? We're just here digesting the 0-0 match that pretty much feels like a win. I can't lie. So much to think about, talk about, but we're here with Uwo. It's late Thursday evening. And on top of that, we got a special guest that we chatted right after the game. The Tower of Morgan Hill, Steve Purdy himself, finally was able to meet up with us here on the show, on the Zoom, and we were able to chat about the game. That was definitely a great experience, getting his input, his perspective as an insider of La Selecta, someone that has defended the blue and white, someone that has fought in the Cusca for La Selecta, and just great being able to reconnect with them after so many years, right, Hugo?
Yeah, great to talk to Steve. It was definitely not something that we were expecting, but right after the game, he sent me a message and he said, "Hey, I wish I was part of this team right now." And I was like, you know what? Let's talk about it. So here you go.
So that was a pretty good match today, huh?
Oh yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Looks like a promising team there.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, I don't know, usually at least like in 2008, matches like this, you'd always feel nervous watching them. Yeah. You never knew when the team would break down, whether it was being tired or just like one of those miscues in the back. And then it would just lead up to like an easy goal and whatnot, at least in 08. And then this time around, you felt like they kind of took control after like the first 5. They settled in a little bit, just battering with a couple passes, like almost giving a heart attack or giving us all a heart attack. But other than that, like, I like the intensity and how they tried playing their style of possession, playing out the back, and just a little disjointed with like, with Joaquin. He didn't seem to be too connected in the attack, but it was fun to watch.
It's a work in progress, They've started this amazing thing with Hugo Perez, and you just got to give it a little bit of time to kind of let it grow. And there's going to be confidence that's going to be instilled, I think, in these young players. And that's the cool thing, as long as there's no cheaters out there, like as long as we just keep this thing moving forward, there's nothing that gets in the way. That's the blueprint and characteristics of what El Salvador players have been for so long, So, I feel really good about this squad, good about the coaching staff, the culture, the younger players that are coming in, the players that are coming in from outside of El Salvador. So I'm super excited, man. I wish I was a part of the squad. I was telling Hugo right before I got on, I was like, man, if there was ever a team to be a part of, it's this one right here, because there's a lot of nice pieces, coming together. So.
Yeah. And making a segue, just want to give you props again, Uwo, for, the work that you've done. And it's cool that it's almost gelling together. It's like that perfect timing where you have a coaching staff that doesn't mind relying on, looking outside of the borders, or players born outside en masse, I would say. And it's just great to see it starting to gel and you getting the recognition too. But somebody pay this man. Please, someone pay Hugo to keep doing what he's doing. But really quick, before we dive back into it again, Steve, would you mind refreshing our memory or letting us know like what you've been up to, like since your retirement, Are you still involved in the game? What have you been up to?
Yeah, since retiring from soccer, unfortunately, a forced retirement with an injury, I've eventually gotten back into the game. I own my own soccer business, Purdy Performance. We've been able to get to about, we're training about 100 kids plus each week. A lot of great players, that are looking to play higher level soccer, whether that be college or even professional soccer. Which that being my main vision, with the business is to help these players reach those higher levels, and someone who's been there, done it, knows the sacrifices needed to get there. That's where now my fulfillment comes in. And it's been such a great ride so far. Just been at it for 3 years now, and we've been growing each year, and just looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here in the future. So staying in the game, I've had some awesome opportunities to get to know people when I played in Germany, Major League Soccer, El Salvador, all over the world. And I'm reconnecting with a lot of individuals to look at different avenues to help some of these players, reach different pathways to play, not just maybe here in America, but even outside of America, with some higher level soccer.
That's cool, man.
It's been pretty cool.
I bet it'd be really hard after making the game your life to just completely walk away from it. So that's dope that you're still working at. Are you based in California, or are you out of state?
I'm out of state. I'm actually in little Wisconsin, Midwest. My wife is from over here, so we relocated, and I've had these amazing opportunities to, I have my own indoor turf facility over here near Green Bay. And I've had these amazing opportunities just to build something, more from a cleaner slate in this part of America, but there's a lot of talent just like in any other place. We're already seeing a lot of success, and I'm hoping I can take this, the experiences that I have now as a trainer and as a coach, and maybe spread it out back to, where I'm from in California, other parts of America, and even beyond. So it's been a fun journey. But right now, Midwest, and we'll see what happens here in the future.
Cool. I bet Uwal's dying to know what the Salvadoran population is out there.
What am I? Am I half, Hugo? Am I half Salvadoran? So should I say half? What, half of one person? No, I'm kidding. No. There are some, there's Salvadorans, I feel like there's a presence everywhere, not as strong as in California or in some of the bigger cities. But there are, I think there's a pupuseria nearby, which it's hard for me to try pupusas outside my mom's pupusas, but so I still need to check that place out. But there are not as many, but there is still a presence, which is nice.
Steve, nice to see you. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I saw you, and I was just recently when I was interviewed by the New York Times. For me at least, the connection that I have to Selecta talent, and when things kind of took off. I started in 2010, but I think the name that kind of put me out there was you. I think that people think of Steve Purdy and they thought about Selecta talent and vice versa. So thank you for being here, and as always, always nice to see you. Congratulations on becoming a father. Welcome to the club.
It's fun so far. It's 7-8 days. So it's crazy.
Wow. Congrats, man. Fresh.
I got the green light to come and do this from the wife, so I feel privileged. Yeah.
That's tight, man. Congrats.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's good to hear. We stay in touch with Steve every now and then, and it's, props to you for, building your business from the ground up. I remember when you mentioned to me that you had the possibility of basically the freedom to build something in this facility, and you had some ideas, and now it's great to see that you have a pretty successful business going on with kids, and staying in the sport, and hopefully, you share with me that at some point you would like to give something back to El Salvador and the Salvadoran community, and hopefully that can happen at some point. The first thing that I got today from Steve, I got a text message, and he said, "I wish I was part of this team." And I think a lot of us feel that way because of the changing culture that you just talked about, and your name still people still remember you. People see Zabaleta and they're like, imagine Purdy and Zabaleta in the back. But
Twin Towers right there.
Twin Towers, yeah. But tell us about the game. What were your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, huge first game, World Cup qualifiers. It's hard to replicate that atmosphere, in Gold Cup or any other game. So right after the bat, right when I saw the crowd, saw that it was a full stadium, and after listening to the national anthem, I was like, oh man, this is great. So that energy, that feel was already there from the very beginning. And then playing against the United States of America, it's always gonna be a tough game. But I thought they did really well. I think that right off the bat, you kind of like what Andres was saying, you're waiting maybe for little nerves and here and there. Maybe there was, but they found their rhythm, they found their little place in the game. And there was moments there, where USA, they were on their heels, and there's some pretty exciting moments in there. And it just shows, I think, the quality that the Salvadoran player has, that a cohesive, collective Salvadoran team can have, under the guidance of a Hugo Perez, and that's scary, I think, for the rest of the teams in CONCACAF. I think there's a lot of underestimation of this team, and, USA to get a 0-0 draw with a couple chances in there, could have been a game where we maybe are able to get a goal and take the 3 points. But overall, I think very promising. They're going to feel great about it. It's going to be great momentum going into the next game. And, hopefully we can get some points, because these first few games are so important for momentum and rhythm, as a team. And so if we can get a few more, then, the rest of this campaign, I mean, there's a great shot for us to qualify.
And just to break it down maybe a little bit from the US side, it's a young squad. There's a lot of expectation around it, considering where the players are playing, with the majority of them playing in Europe. Did you sense, or did you feel like they went into this match kind of underestimating La Selecta? How much does it come into play when you have players that are making, an exorbitant amount of money in salary, and they're going to play players that people could dismiss the league in El Salvador as like a farmers league, a minor league? The USL dismiss it as well. And that's where, the majority of our players playing. Does that become a factor at all when, when you're facing these elite players?
I think so. I mean, from a USA perspective, they're coming into this game and they're playing a small country with players that maybe aren't very well represented in the higher leagues. But that's where you got to be careful. You can see right away, playing at the Cusca is not easy, especially, as a visitor. It's not easy to be out there. And so you can kind of see right away that there are some of these top players playing in top teams in the world, but how many times have they played in a country like El Salvador with a full crowd, 30,000 blue shirts going crazy? That was loud on TV. I can only imagine. Well, I could imagine because I was a part of it. That's loud on the field, So there's a lot of those different dynamics. You can't replicate, like I said before, you can't replicate it in Gold Cup matches. You can't replicate it, in some of these games that some of these players are playing in perfect pitches in Europe. This is just a whole different ballgame. From a El Salvador perspective, they're playing against a great team that sometimes you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. But I think today you didn't feel that as much as maybe in the past. They found their rhythm and they found their kind of their space in the game. And, there was moments there where El Salvador maybe could have gotten a goal, whether that's a set piece or, a counterattack, or, there was nice little spells of possession in there as well. So, playing World Cup qualifying games, can't match it anywhere else in any Gold Cup or any friendly. It's its own thing. And, I think that the players that have the experiences playing in it, they understand it. Those that don't, which a lot of players, especially in the US team, some of the younger players maybe haven't been able to play any of those games, you can kind of see what it's about,
And one thing that I noticed is a common phrase that comes up whenever El Salvador plays one of the bigger teams in CONCACAF or in a friendly match is on the pitch, somos 11 contra 11. Like it's always 11v11. We're going to do our best. They're human and we're going to give it a shot. Now, Larin said something similar to this. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. But you can see that when you have the preparation, when you have the tactics set up in a way that you can stand up to a country like the US, it looks a lot different than when you're improvising or when there was lack of organization or modernization to how the team was run. Ooh, I know you've mentioned that too, how it's a common phrase that we've heard time after time. What was different about this time?
Well, like I said before, Hugo Perez has really prepared this team in a very short time. I think the team has been able to capture the style of play that Hugo wants to play. And most importantly, I think he has really influenced the mentality of the players, in which, in the past, it has always been about, like you said, Andres, it's like we're going to go out there and do the best we can type of thing, and hopefully we'll get a good result. But I think now the players are starting to believe that if they put in the work, if they do what they have practiced during the week, it's going to show off. It's going to show on the field, the way they play. And I guess that's what I was talking about, Andres, when I talked about the mentality, where we're starting to see those players referring to themselves as being capable of going out there and playing against, players that are in Barcelona, Juventus, or, the first division in Germany. The mentality is shifting from kind of like not compromising and not taking full responsibility, kind of like saying, we are playing the best team in CONCACAF. We're going to go out there. We're going to do the best we can, and hopefully we'll get a good result. I'm not seeing that anymore. Now it's more like there's more confidence in the players, and they go in there knowing what they want to accomplish when they play.
And I'm just throwing this out there for either of you, but who are some of the players that stood out for you guys today? What are some of those moments that stood out in today's match?
Well, I can say Roldan. I mean, I thought he did fantastic. I mean, he left his whole heart on the field. You can tell in the last 5-10 minutes he was gassed, but I was very impressed with this play, all the way back to Gold Cup, all the way to obviously his play in Major League Soccer. But he came up big. He's the type of player that his leadership and his play, it's contagious. You can tell that it's going to go a long way. My Twin Tower boy Zavaleta had a couple of big tackles, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, some of those tackles blocked some shots in key moments. That's the difference between winning, tying, and losing a World Cup qualifier. So key moments from him. I thought that there was some nice play collectively in the middle of the park at times where we were able to have spells of possession. So there was a decent collective effort there. So I think all in all, pretty good match. I was hoping to see more of Darwin. I think he's been playing such good soccer all the way back to Gold Cup. I think if maybe his injury was something that was gained to him, but if we were able to maybe have him throughout the whole match, some of the different plays could have been unlocked because he's been playing just such high quality soccer. So collective effort, pretty good from everyone. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, Roldan, God, I mean, there's a joke out there in MLS that, he can basically play every position. He's played goalkeeper professionally, and with the Sounders one time that the team didn't have any subs, and he
against
had to
the Quakes.
he had to step in and play goalkeeper, and he did pretty well. And today, when I saw him starting, was he left mid?
Yeah, he started on the left and they switched, right?
Ended up at left back at the very end.
He ended up as a left back.
Yeah.
So he played like 3 positions today, and in MLS he's been a right back all season. So I was impressed by his versatility, being able to play in different positions, and also he gave it all today. I mean, he ran, I don't know how many miles in this game today. So I think he earned the respect of whoever was having any doubts about the Salvadorian Americans not playing with their heart all in when they represent El Salvador. I think Roldan, just like other players have done in the past already, showed that he's all in with the national team. So I think based on the amount of hustling that he did throughout the field, and also the one thing that I knew about Roldan that I really love about his style of play is that he rarely loses a ball. You know, he may not be the player who takes on like 1v1, does not hit the way he plays, but he rarely has a missed pass. And to me, that type of security that a player like that brings into the field is important. Zavaleta played one of his best games against a great team, because some people may say, well, you know, he was playing against the Islands previously, although he played really well in the Gold Cup against Qatar and other teams. But today, I thought he had one of his best games. So did Rodriguez, the other center back. I really liked. I think Rodriguez really stepped it up a notch this game. He's young. He's a young player, and I really like what he did. Collectively, I think it was a pretty choppy game overall, because I think that both teams were really pressuring really high up. So both teams really had a hard time keeping comfortable possession of the ball. And yes, we had, like Steve said, we had moments in which we show what we are capable of doing when we have the ball. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of spaces to be able to do that. I thought that I really like what Walmer brought in. I thought Walmer also was a player who, number 9, who really came in, and he was able to hold the ball and be that big number 9 that we need sometimes. I really like what he did. But yes, and Enrico, I'm glad he made his debut. I don't think he got the ball as much as he needs to have the ball in order to do what he can do. But when he had it, you know, he looked pretty good. But I think he can do more with more minutes, and perhaps a game in which there's a little bit more spaces. But overall, I think I will go with Roldan and Zavaleta as the top rated players for me today.
At the end of the day, it's a shutout against USA, you know.
All right.
So that's the biggest thing, and the will to get that result is huge, and you see that through a Roldan. You know, he worked his butt off.
For me, a couple things that I hope can be corrected would be starting the play in the back. Today wasn't necessarily Gonzalez's best game with his feet. Fortunately, the U.S. didn't get too many chances on goal, but he seemed to have the jitters when starting out from the back. We lost too many balls on the wings that would just go out of bounds or go straight to U.S. possession. So hopefully that can be corrected as they move forward. Darwin, you mentioned that he's been playing really great. There were a couple balls that he lost in really bad positions that ended up in counters that fortunately didn't end up in goals. But I think, and I've noticed fans mentioning it too, but I think he needs to correct that last touch, you know, when he's in a compromised position that tend to, you know, end in disaster if we do it in the wrong spot, like what happened early against Qatar. So hopefully he's able to correct that as well. Marbin looked good. I felt like sometimes he was a little too slow, but when he had to retain the ball, keep possession, have someone run around to make a space out of nowhere, he was able to pull that off. But again, I think in the mid, like you guys mentioned, the moments that they're able to keep the ball on the ground and get more than 3-4 touches in, they looked great. We just need a little bit more of that, and not revert to just sending the long balls, because that's why I feel Rivas was a little disconnected from the attack, where the only time that he get close to getting possession would be on those long passes in the air.
That's why I think we're kind of missing out just a little bit, because we're capable of possession, right? It's very obvious that the Salvadorian player is very skilled and technical. It's unlocking the spaces in behind and having those players that can unlock those spaces in behind. You know, if you are a team that is only going to be keeping possession, it's very predictable for the other team to know how to play defense against you. So you're going to put higher pressure on, you know, those players in the middle of the park. You know, some of our players are going to have to be put in those positions to maybe play in tight spaces in maybe the back third or the defensive third. If we were able to unlock just a little bit more on the wings there, you know, a striker that's capable of holding the ball, but also getting in those in behind spaces, that, you know, obviously would be that next level for this team.
Going back, Steve, to the challenge of playing in Central America, I think that's one thing that Andres and I talked about in the previous episode, where I believe the U.S. has probably the most talented team in a very long time in terms of names and where they play. It's full of stars. But one thing is to play in the leagues that they play, and then a different thing to play in Central America under the conditions there, hostile environment, fields that are not in perfect condition,
different climate.
Very different climate. As a former player and someone who played in Europe, played in MLS, and then you played in El Salvador, can you tell us a little bit about the challenges of playing at El Cusca? Because we saw American players today who couldn't, I mean, there were like 30 minutes left and they couldn't run anymore. You know, they were cramping it. And you're talking about elite players, top-notch players in the best leagues in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that based on your experience of the different environments?
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, are they training in any environment like El Cusca? I don't think so. I mean, the grass is different. It's thicker. The weather, the climate, I don't know what the weather was like today, but I'm sure, you know, Central America, it's going to be a little bit more humid. It's going to be a little bit warmer. The adrenaline, the pressures, you know, World Cup qualifier. When you first walk into that stadium, you're like, oh, wow, 30,000 blue shirts, you know, jeering at you. The energy that they bring to El Salvador, you know, there's so many different components. I think that the normal viewer that watches these games on TV, it's hard to really understand, you know, unless you're really out there. You know, it's just a mixed emotions of adrenaline, excitement, nervousness, and also just a completely new setting, you know. So tell me, you know, are these players in Europe, are they training in situations, in environments like this? No, you know, it's the same when we would go and play like Guyana and Suriname and some of these teams where we'd show up. It seemed like we just show up to a park, you know, it's like, this is different, you know, and it's hard to sometimes get in there and then, you know, turn that switch on, you know, and so it kind of works both ways there. But, you know, like I said before, World Cup qualifier, it's 90 minutes. You got to show up. You got to get through the elements. You got to get through the fans that are jeering against you, and you got to perform. And you saw today, from a physical standpoint, it was tough for some of the players, but also just from a rhythm standpoint, it was very difficult for some of these players to kind of get into their rhythm. You saw Dest, who plays for Barcelona, dainty on the ball. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work in a World Cup qualifier. You touch the ball a couple of times, you can have 2 players, 3 players on you, and you saw it a couple of times. You know, he was subbed out. So, you know, for those players, they just need those repetitions. You know, they're going to need to take in these experiences, and that's going to help the USA team. You know, and then for the El Salvador team, we have to take advantage of playing at home. I mean, you know, we should be getting points at home against the USAs, the Mexicos, getting the 3 points against some of the other teams in the qualification round. But that's our home field advantage, and we got to take advantage of that if we want to qualify.
So considering the result, do you think it's something positive, or is your perspective kind of similar to what Hugo Perez was mentioning, that if we ended up tying, we didn't achieve anything or anything positive, that it was almost, you know, like a step in the wrong direction by not getting those 3 points?
I think Hugo's very smart. I think he tells the public one thing, but I think he's happy. I think he's very happy. He's going into, he got his 1 point against a very good USA team full of very talented players. In that locker room, they feel confident. There is a higher sense of belief, and you can't replicate that, right? The sense of belief is the greatest energy, the greatest thing you can possess, as a player and as a team, so I'm happy if I'm Hugo. I'm telling the public, I'm telling even my team before, it's a tie is not good enough, but because that sets an expectation, it sets a standard. And so now it's like, okay, we have to at least play up to this level. And if we can surpass that level, guess what? We're getting our 3 points. It's a different mentality, like Hugo said right now. In the past, there's always an excuse. There was always a compromise. There was always a reason why maybe we didn't play or get results against top teams. But Hugo Perez is changing the game. He's looking at it from the other side of that glass half full mentality. Hey, it's not good enough if we only get 1 point against USA. I love that. That's a winner's mentality.
I agree with Steve. Yes, I mean, you can't tell the players from the get-go a draw will be good. You can't go in with that mentality. But at the end of the day, it is the top league in CONCACAF. They are the champions of CONCACAF, and they are the champions of the Gold Cup. And they did not bring their B squad; they had their A squad. And I think our team, La Selecta, played today against the best team in CONCACAF, and we saw that even though perhaps we were not able to play our game the way that we would have liked to play the game, we got a really good result that should help us build momentum and keep that momentum going and get the 3 points against Honduras on Sunday. And who knows, perhaps we go to Canada and get a point from there. Honduras did it today. Mexico struggled to beat Jamaica last minute goal, and Jamaica had their B squad because they couldn't bring 12 players from the UK. So I think that this result should help us build momentum, get stronger, for the players to believe in themselves and know that they are capable of playing anyone, any player, regardless of where they play. We have talent. Look at Jairo Enriquez today. He played a really good game.
Someone sign that man, please.
he made some of the U.S. defenders look really bad. So I'm happy with the result. I think overall it's a good result.
We have to remember it's the first game of World Cup qualifiers. There's such an excitement with the anticipation of going to this first game. The game, and also it's this campaign isn't about playing the most beautiful soccer. It's nice to play beautiful soccer, but this campaign is about getting results. And a point against USA, first game in qualifiers. It's a nice start. Is it perfect? No. 3 points is always going to be what you want, but it's a nice start, and it's something to build off of. And I tell you what, if we continue this energy, I think that it's going to be a fun run. It's going to be a very fun run. I might have to go and start working out and maybe come in halfway through, just put my jersey on and be like, hey, coach, I'm here. I'm ready to go.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I know. You might see the return of the Tower of Morgan Hill.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Nice, man. Well, kind of drawing back towards your experience, what was the main match or a match that you remember where you got those jitters, where you were having to keep yourself in check while still trying to compete and perform on the pitch?
I mean, with the El Salvador national team, I think my debut against Panama was one. I went to coach. I said, I'm ready to go. I showed my hands. I was like, coach, I want to play, I want to play. I'm ready. And so I kind of put it all out there as a quarterfinal match. And, it was very nerve-wracking anticipation to that game, even the beginning of that game. And then I look back at, playing against Mexico in El Salvador. That was just such an exciting game. I think just for me personally, but just, I think the context of, World Cup qualifiers and this and that, and playing in such an awesome environment like today's environment. That was also, I think, more exciting than the nervousness. I mean, there's always an exciting nervousness that you have, in any game, but that one a little bit more. But you use that energy, for good, and you use it to play a good match. So I think those two games in particular, playing with the national team, are probably the ones that are, that kind of separate themselves.
I remember that game, Steve. I was in Barcelona, and the game was at 3 a.m, I think, Barcelona time, and the Wi-Fi went down, or there was no internet at the B&B. So I remember taking my phone and I went to right at the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, because there was public Wi-Fi there that I could get. And I remember watching the game there on my phone, and obviously it's a heartbreak, because I think we had to win by certain results, and we couldn't get the results, so we were out with the World Cup. But that was a memorable game, and I remember you basically erasing Chicharito. I mean, Chicharito couldn't do anything on that game.
That was the game where, so we played Costa Rica, where I remember that game. We were down 2-0, I believe, and we came back and scored 2. Weirdly enough, there was something that happened. The lights went out. We probably would have, the way we were playing, we probably would have got 3 points in that game. And then we, I believe, right? And then we played Mexico, unless it was the other way around. But that was Ruben Israel. I mean, that was we were talking about a great coach, and rest in peace, to Ruben. Talking about a great coach, tactician. He opened up a whole new game, I think, to our team. There was a lot of momentum, and that was, I think, pretty much his last game with us, the Mexico game. And for whatever reason, well, we kind of know now why he kind of stepped away. So we lost. That was kind of a turning point, I think, for the national team during that time. Turning point with my experience with the national team, during that time. So that was kind of a tough one. But I think we could have maybe gotten a better result in that game as well.
No, that game was a lot of fun. I ended up getting to the stadium at 5 hours before the match, because they opened it up really early. Mm-hmm. It was a great environment. I think, though, of the matches that I got to see you play, the Cayman Islands was very memorable for me, just because of the storm that hit. And the transition in style, since the pitch was basically like a pond, and just seeing kind of how the team transitioned to, okay, let's play in the air a little bit. Let's juggle the ball a couple times and then volley off and see what we can create out here. That was a lot of fun. And then obviously you getting that goal in the rain, that was pretty epic. I mean, yes, it was a smaller rival in Cayman Islands, but definitely a fun experience considering it was a qualifier. And I bet that was a lot of fun for you too, right?
Oh yeah, we were swimming out there. I mean, I'm the tallest one out there, so I can only imagine my teammates. They were maybe knee deep in some of those puddles. But yeah, that was a fun one. It was the will to win. We made it work. You couldn't just pass the ball on the ground. You had to go ahead and scoop it out, and then you had to play the aerial game, which in my case it was perfect. I was able to get a nice header goal and even an assist, I think, that game. And then the crowd, the way they responded, I'll never forget the crowd, the whole crowd chanting my name. Purdy, like it was probably the best, one of the greatest moments, in my professional career. So that was a very memorable game. The other Cayman Islands game was the one I was referring to before, the one away, the one where I wasn't able to go. That was a tough one. Yeah.
For sure.
Who took your passport, Steve?
I don't know, man. This is going to be the mystery that there's someone out there that does know, because there's someone out there that has my passport. I know there was a lot of jokes circulating during that time, but I think that some people can point their finger at a couple individuals. I can't say that I know who did. All I know is that it was a very pivotal moment for me with the national team getting to start, after a Gold Cup and this and that. So you can kind of put pieces together, and you can also, that was also something that you kind of don't see right now. You see a cohesive team. You see a group of players that have one mission, with under Hugo Perez's guidance, there's a plan. You see a plan out there, which is great. Back then, there was a split line, olders, youngers, players like myself coming in, some jealousy, some what's going on here, and that dynamic, the locker room dynamic is so important. And now you kind of see it's a different culture, which it's really great to see.
So did you feel some animosity then when you first started?
Yeah, there was always a little bit of who's this guy? Who is this guy from some of the veterans? They kind of had their spot on the team. They were comfortable. They were doing their little thing too. They had their own little scheme. Obviously, we found out later. And here's this guy that maybe brings a little different mentality. I wanted to go and play for my national team, and give it my all, and always give 100%. And so I think there was just a little bit of like who's this guy think he is, type of deal, at times they showed it, at times they showed it in the training field. They showed it with their interactions with me. And I think eventually, things were fine though.
For sure. Well,
that's another episode. We can have another episode.
Yeah, we can do a little bit of it. There's a lot of story. I have a lot
Who took
of
Steve's
stuff.
passport?
We can put a survey out to the Salvadoran people and let them answer.
Oof,
yeah,
that'd be hilarious. Like a poll on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it would be interesting to talk about it at a different time, because I think it is an important subject that now there is a national team that is built around the culture of combining the national talent with the foreign-born talent. The team is being built around that, and you have coaches who speak English. There is I'm not sure if it's a requirement, but I know that the sporting director is part of their scouting for coaches for the different national teams is for them to be bilingual, because there's going to be players like Enrico who don't speak any Spanish. Zabaleta understands Spanish a lot, but he doesn't speak it much, right? So I think there's a different culture. So it would be kind of interesting to to compare, how it used to be, 5-6 years ago, and now, because I think it's different. I'm getting to experience it in a very different way, and I think it's a very, very interesting subject to talk about in a future episode.
I think it's an important one for the national team, because we've always had talent. You got to look at some of our older talented players. We've always had the talent. What got in the way of that talent? What got in the way of the continuity? We could be at a much higher place right now as a national team if we would have been able to build off of momentum, but we weren't able to because of certain things. So there's a lot to unpack there. I would love to discuss, because I was in it. I saw a lot of things, a lot of different dynamics. And that's why I sent you that text, Hugo, because I'm like, I wish I could be a part of this team, because I craved it. I craved being a part of a team that they all had a mission to win, versus these very, what is going on, we're playing. There's a few players that aren't in it. What are they doing? And then finally we find out later, some of those motivations.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack there. But I think we don't want to take more of your time, considering the time zone difference, and you're probably due for bottle duty sometime soon.
Yeah,
but just want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know it finally happened. We've been trying to make this happen. I'm just really thankful that it worked out. Spur of the moment, right after the match, just digesting what was and what's coming up. And thanks again. And hopefully we'll get to do this sometime soon, especially now that there's so many matches that lie ahead. It'll be awesome to hear your take on them.
Yeah, guys, it's such a pleasure. I think, like you said, totally overdue. Yeah, it is daddy duty time, but keep in touch, guys. Let's do it again. And that was fun. I appreciate it.
Cool, man. Definitely.
Okay. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Talk soon.
Congrats
Bye.
again.
Thank you.
And there There it was, ladies and gentlemen, our chat with Steve Purdy, the man himself, the number 4 that probably still has a record for the tallest center back that El Salvador's had. Maybe it's between Dos Prado and Zabaleta to see who comes in second place, or maybe Henry too. Anyway, it was awesome to be able to chat with them. Just great perspective, commentary, just that insider scoop of what it is to play this level of a match, and also just being able to dissect certain things in a way that, I can't or Ugo can't. Just a great fresh perspective. It's amazing. So shout out to him. Thanks again for chatting with us. And at this point, all we can do is just look ahead for Sunday's match, and then Tuesday, right? Tuesday's when they play away in Canada. This is fun, ladies and gentlemen. I just connecting with everybody on social media the past couple of days, seeing how excited people have been. And then just one thing that stands out more and more is that recognition, that acceptance of fans that are dual nationals, that are torn between teams. In my perspective, I mean, I'm doing a podcast about it several in English. I have pretty much this much loyalty for the US. I know it's different for Ugo. He's mentioned it on the team. Were you torn at all, or are you all in right now in La Selecta as a fan, which is different than your other function?
No, I'm all in. I'm all in with La Selecta. I think, like I made it very clear, on occasions, when there's a World Cup and El Salvador is not in, I support the U.S. because I live here, because I lived here for many years. But when they play La Selecta, I'm sorry, but I'm all in with La Selecta.
There you have it. It's been debunked, the myth. Yeah, for me, it's no question, man. Like, I appreciate the country I was born and grew up in and whatnot. I love baseball. There's nothing more American than baseball, but that's where it ends. Because when it comes to footy, Selecta morir. So this was just a great match to see a team that didn't make me nervous. Maybe the first 4, like I mentioned, the first 4 or 5 minutes, I was nervous, as I was back in the De Los Cobos era for the 2010 run, where you wanted the result to go your way, but you were almost ready at any instance for something to go awry. And in this case, once they settled down, it was like, no, they're going to go for it one way or another. Hopefully they end up with the 3 points, but they're able to hold out for the tie. And just to close, go watch those plays that Heido did against Dest. Ugh. It's amazing. Reminiscent of Cristian Castillo breaking Frankie Hayjuk's ankles. But just, I need to watch
that
it
number.
again.
It's all about that number 17. That's what it is. If you wear the 17, you kind of have to
bust out
poner
that
a bailar
magic.
algún
Some cumbia.
norteamericano.
Oh, man. I'm still stoked off of that. No, there's nothing better. 12 years we've been waiting for this, ladies and gentlemen. And there's nothing better. I think I want to see this team keep growing. They're getting those objectives that Gerson mentioned, that Jerson mentioned, the multiple objectives. Obviously, when they head into a match, they're going to try and win. But at the same time, these players are getting their first taste of qualifiers. They're getting that experience, and they're going to continue progressing. I think the player that's grown the most would be Ronan. I was iffy about him because I saw some mistakes that he was doing out of the back, even with the U23s and Gold Cup and some of the previous qualifying round, whereas, come on, dude, like, you can't lose it there. And he's corrected that for the most part. He had one hiccup today, but on the defensive end, this guy's a beast, and Zabaleta mentioned it last time. You know, this guy is growing. This guy is calm and collected, and he's getting the job done. So I'm pretty stoked about this Zabaleta Ronald Rodriguez duo. And then, you know, if anyone needs to rest for whatever reason, you got Dominguez right there. So it's promising. I'm really impressed that this team that's comprised of mostly USL players and players in La Liga Mayor kept up and at times made the US look silly. And I don't know, props to the coaching staff and the players, but it's not something that I necessarily would have predicted. I went into this hoping for the best, and I think we got the next best thing to the best. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude this episode of the Corner Blue. I'm Andres Rico, and I got Hugo Alvarado with me. And you heard Stephen Purdy earlier. Just got to keep enjoying this. It's, I think, a very special moment that we're going to talk about for years to come, considering all the developments that have occurred within the last, 4 months. Just a lot of stuff has occurred. For those listeners that were there from the beginning, thanks a lot for accompanying us on this journey. It's always amazing to interact with all of you. Just think how different things were, right? Back when we weren't sure what the format was going to be. I think up to a certain point, Montagliani's done us a favor by the format change, and it just gave birth to just all these developments. And then to you new listeners, thank you so much for checking us out. A lot of people have been able to hear about us through social media, because that's the only place where we're trying to get the word out. But it's awesome to interact with new listeners, know that new people are joining us and checking out the podcast. And shout out to Javier M out of the Bay Area. Yeah. In any case, thanks to people like him that are giving this podcast a chance. And please don't forget to let your friends know, your family know, like, subscribing, sharing, and retweeting, because that's what helps us keep this thing growing. We've even been asked, do we have a Patreon? I mean, I love some money, but for now, we're just doing this for fun, and we'll find ways to keep this going and improving. If that involves, bringing in a little bit of cash money and monetizing, we'll study that option, see how we can get that going. But in the meantime, this is out of love for the game and the team, and we know that you share that with us, and we appreciate it. So until next time, fasten your seatbelts, because we got Honduras coming up on Sunday. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.